Also, the COMESA Competition Commission is investigating issues within the agriculture value chain that could be fueling escalating food prices. Betty Kiptum is in Livingstone, Zambia, and now speaks to the COMESA Competition Commission's Chief Executive Officer, that is Willard Mwemba, on the potential impact of the research on consumers. Betty Kiptum, good afternoon. Good to see you. Take it away.
A very good afternoon to you, Abdiaziz Hashim. Of course, we spoke yesterday and we are coming to you live from Livingstone in Zambia. Yesterday I told you about the press conference that was supposed to happen by the COMESA Competition Commission, and for sure that particular press conference has happened. And one of the issues that has come up is the Commission is going to be looking into the possibility of those unfair practices that are going on in the agriculture value chain, as well as some restrictive practices or policies between governments or regions that are preventing the import or export of food materials, which leads to food scarcity as well as high food prices. And to just give us more on this conversation is the Chief Executive Officer of the COMESA Competition Commission. He is Dr. Willard Mwemba. He joins me now, and let's just talk to him about what is going on and what the Commission is going to do on this. Thank you for joining us. Could you give us an overview of why you reached this decision and what do you see coming out of this?
So thank you so much, Betty, and thank you for having me. Look, food is very important to every human being, and all these other policies are actually subservient to food policies, because without food then no one will be there to appreciate the other policies. So that's how important food is. And also the agri sector, I just want to quickly tell you why it is important and why we made that decision to focus on it specifically. You may want to know that in the entire COMESA region, which has more than 600 million people with a GDP of over 1 trillion. In this big market, 21 member states, 12 million square kilometers, 80% of all our citizens are actually involved in the agricultural labor force. So the biggest employer by 80% in this big market of over 600 million people is actually agriculture. So it shows you how important it is. Agriculture in this entire region, the $1 trillion that we are talking about GDP, agriculture contributes 32%. Agriculture contributes 50% of the raw materials that we use in COMESA. Agriculture contributes to 65% of our forex earning. It's a very important sector. So any distortions therein has negative and ripple consequences on the welfare of so many, and indeed poverty. So this is why we focused on this, because if we have a good agricultural system, good agricultural policies, good agricultural trade, good agricultural production, then with the statistics that I've just given you, we are already on the path to alleviating poverty in COMESA. Now, if I may just continue, so our observation was, number one, we saw skyrocketing food prices for the consumer like me. Bread has become too expensive, cooking oil, the edible oils has become too expensive, everything has become too expensive. But we have also observed that the farmer who is producing that has become poorer and poorer, because the price at farmer level is very low. So the price at which the trader buys from the farmer is very low. The price at which the trader sells to the processor is very high, and the price for the consumer is high. Rational reasoning, Betty, would dictate that if the price at which we are getting the raw product from the farmer is low, the consumer price should equally be low. So that excited us. Or rather that worried us. What was the problem between the farmer who has a low price and the consumer whose price is very high? And we realized that there are a number of issues. Among them, the first one of our primary concern was that the big traders were involving themselves in anti-competitive and unorthodox business conduct. They would deliberately put the farmer in a desperate situation, because they know the farmer, most of our farmers are poor, as I said. They know the farmer does not have proper storage facilities, proper transport facilities. So immediately after the produce, they will know the farmer will not wait for another 3-4 months, because his produce will go to waste. So they will go there, create a desperate situation, the farmer sells at a small price, a low price. Then wait for the crop to get out of season. They have stored it properly, and then they will take advantage of the out of produce period and skyrocket their prices. So they are doing two things: frustrating the price, which perpetuates poverty for the farmer, but also price gouging, which affects the welfare of the consumer. But also, secondly, it is the policies that we have. For example, if we want to make sure that this situation of the farmer becoming desperate because of this trade is resolved, why don't we start thinking collectively as a region in investing in storage facilities for low-scale farmers? Because if we invest in that, they will say, hang on a minute, I can actually wait until the price is better on the market for me, not just for you. So they will also store. So we need to have those policies which we are not seeing. We are seeing them in bits and pieces, but we need to have a deliberate, comprehensive, COMESA-wide policy in that area. But also our own policies sometimes as governments, and I want to be very careful here, Kiptum, not to criticize governments, because usually governments act in the best interest of its people. So they may have good intentions, and I know the intentions are good, but the problem is the result is not addressing the good intention, or is not having the effects of the good intention that the government sought to. I'll give you a very good example. We're in Southern Africa here in Zambia today, right? In Livingstone, you can see how hot it is. There's been droughts here terribly. So there is no crop that has been produced here, and there are shortages, there's scarcity, but we can't easily import from East Africa, which by the grace of God, and I'm using those words because I'm also a Christian, which by the grace of God, East Africa this year has had very good rains, and it's expected that the produce will be good. But because of these policies, government policies of ensuring food security for their own people, sometimes they say, hey, wait a minute, don't export. But Kenya will not export today to Zambia, which is in a drought. Tomorrow it will be Zambia with rain, and Zambia will not export to Kenya. And what I'm saying are facts. 2 years ago there was a bumper harvest here because there were good rains, but we couldn't export. This country could not export easily without impediments due to certain policies to Kenya. So in Kenya, prices of maize grain, soya grain became too expensive, and some businesses had to collapse. The prices were too high for the consumer, and yet there was a bumper harvest here. And in that bumper harvest, remember, the farmer would have made money if they had exported to Kenya. So Kenya is suffering because there is no food. The farmer here in Zambia is suffering because the price is low. The vice versa has happened. God is for us all. Kenya now has